America, and I read 130 books in 2024. So these are my best and worst of every single month in the entire year. My best for January ended up being a tie because both of these were absolute 6-star reads for me, still beating by Jennifer Hartman and All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. I loved these both dearly. This was an incredible trauma, kind of dark romance in the beginning, but it ended up being a trauma romance. And the way Jennifer Hartman writes is absolutely incredible. And this was my very first introduction to her. Since then, I have read a lot of her books, and I love her as an author. All the Ugly and Wonderful Things is a very hard book for me to recommend because the content is difficult, if you will. But this book was incredible. I have yet to read any book like it, and I read this a year ago. I will never forget this book. This book was unlike anything I've ever read, and it really made me think. It put me inside of a perspective that, one, I've never had, and two, I hope to never have, but these are definitely tied for the win in Best of January. Worst of January lands with Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. As I was reading this, I was having a good time. I was enjoying it, or so I thought. However, it was very YA, and it was very rushed. No depth. How did we end up here? I'm not sure. Did not enjoy this. Did not read the second one. Yeah. Worst of January. Best of February was Manacled by Sen-Lin Yu. This is a fan fiction of Hermione and Draco from Harry Potter that is illegal to buy and sell fan fiction. A friend of mine bound this for me, so please understand that it is not okay to buy and sell fan fiction. However, this was the best book of February. This was traumatic. This was dark. This was heavy emotionally, but so good. So good. It was so good. It literally felt like it went on for eternity. I felt like I would read for 2 hours and progress 2-3%. Accurate. But an incredible story. Hands down, best for February. Worst for February was Fabric of Our Souls by K.M. Morinova. I felt like this book didn't know what it wanted to be. As I was reading it, I felt like we changed plots no less than 3 times. What were we doing? I picked up this book because I was told that it would make me cry. I didn't feel a single emotion. I didn't smile. I did not laugh. I did not cry. I didn't even tear up. It was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I hated it. Was not for me. Worst of February. Best of March, Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Thank you to my book club for making me read this because I did not want to. I was convinced I would not like that. And I did. I loved it. I'm obsessed with it. And I'm super excited for Fearless to come out in April. I loved this book. Is it a Hunger Games ripoff? Absolutely it is. Did I love the tension and the banter of the characters? Absolutely I did. Absolutely I did. I'm just here for the vibes, and the vibes were immaculate. Best of March. Worst of March was When You Are Mine by Iris Cannon. It was a dark romance. It was labeled as a dark romance. And it had no spice. A closed door dark romance, if you will. What? What? Are you as confused as I was? Because I read the entire thing and I was like, what? Worst of March. Best of April, again, has a tie of The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna and the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. 2 obviously very different books in very different genres, and both are equally loved by my heart, okay? The Mindfuck series by St. Abbey, the title intimidated me. The covers on KU specifically intimidated me. I really think that this book needs a whole rebranding because it's really not that spicy, and it's not, I don't know, it needs help. But the innards of it are immaculate. The writing of it is immaculate. I was hooked by chapter 1, and the fact that I can mark off 5 books read by reading that much was a big bonus. I really loved this series. Really, really loved this series. I kind of want to read it again. Okay. And then The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is pretty self-explanatory. Absolutely outstanding, incredible. This was my first introduction to Kristen Hanna. Since then, I have read 3 more Kristen Hannas, and I just love her. I love her writing. I love her ability to tell a story and paint a picture, and this was outstanding. I am not a history girly. I don't enjoy history, actually. I don't ever like learning about it. I don't like hearing about it. This is the first time that I found myself interested in the history. This is the first time that I felt myself feel empathy for people of that time. Immaculate. Kristen Hanna is outstanding. Best of April. Worst of April. Unfurl by Elodie Hart. I gave it 4 stars. April was a really good reading month because for a 4-star to be my worst, that's not bad. But it gave me an ick. And once I got that ick, I could not get rid of the ick. I wanted to love this. I wanted this to be a replacement, not a replacement, but in addition to the Salacious Players Club. This is another one about a sex club, and it just wasn't it. I'm wondering if the rest in the series will be better. I've heard they are. It's just, every time I go to pick up this series again, I remember the ick I got in this book, and I'm like, maybe not. Worst of April. Best of May, Older by Jennifer Hartman. I'm obsessed with Jennifer Hartman's writing. It's absolutely incredible. And when I heard she was making an age gap romance, immediately say less, I'm in. This is a great introduction into age gap romance, especially if you're not into super smutty spice. A lot of the age gap books are super smutty and spicy. This really isn't. There's only a handful of scenes and they're not overdone. This was an incredible read. Emotional, but yet delicious. Best of May. Worst of May. The Elite, number 2 of the selection series. I am not a love triangle girly. This book proved that to me. I wanted to love this series. I really did, but it felt like a teenage Bachelor. And I could not get on board, and this book just pissed me off. I was so frustrated with it. Worst of May. Best of June, A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This book had more angst than every book I've read put together. Like, add them all up, it wouldn't even match how much angst is in this book. Wow. I did not cry in this book. When did I cry? I cried when it was over because I was so relieved that it was over. Why is this my favorite? After that description, it was really good. I swear it was good, but genuinely, it was a lot of push and pull. So if that's your jam, immediately read this. If it's not your jam, maybe skip this one. But for me, best of June. June was another great reading month. So my worst book of June is False From by Debbie Baldwin, but it was a 4-star read for me. It was actually so hard to choose which book to pick as the worst because I really liked them all. So I don't know. This is all I got. False From by Debbie Baldwin. Worst of June, but also not a bad book. Best of July, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I have never laughed as hard as I laughed in this book until we get to December, then we'll talk about that. But in July, I had never laughed as much as I had laughed in this book. I loved it dearly. Hilarious, lighthearted, nothing that's gonna make you cry. It was exactly what I needed at the time. Hello, I'm a mood reader. Best of July. Worst of July. If you remember, Powerless was one of my best books, and Powerful is one of my worst. I hated this book. This book did absolutely nothing for me. Thank God it was so short so it could be over with so quickly. Genuinely, pure hatred from me for this. Worst of July. August kind of sucked. I had no 5-star reads that month, so the best of August was Little Stranger by Lee Rivers. I gave it 4 stars. I did like it. I did listen to it on audio though, and though I usually love Joe Arden, my man felt very whiny. Very whiny. And so he pissed me off. And it couldn't get a 5-star read for me. I think if I would have read it, I would have liked it a lot more. I do plan to read the sequel. I'm not going to listen to it. Best of August. Worst of August. The Bonus by T.L. Swan. T.L. Swan is one of my favorite authors. I love her as a person, and I love a lot of her books. I've read quite a few of them, and I love every single one of them until I read this one. I hated every moment of this book, and I was like, there's no way that I'm going to end up hating a T.L. Swan book. You know what? I'm supposed to hate the characters. That's what's happening. I'm supposed to hate them, and then she's going to redeem them sometime here very quickly. And I read every single damn page of this book, and nope, absolutely not. I hated it. I did. I hated it. Worst of August. September was also not a great reading month. So the only 5-star read I had for September was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and it was a reread. I wasn't going to count it, but none of the other books I read in the month of September deserve the title of best. So Akamath it is. I love her still, even after the reread. She's gorgeous, and I love her, and she shall be the best of September. Worst of September. It was a book club pick. I DNF'd it. I am not a fan of mafia romances so far. I'm not counting out the entire genre because I've only read 3. I've DNF'd 2 of the 3. No? Worst of September. Best of October. Kristen Hanna does it again, as per usual. Loved this. Loved this. Incredible. Kristen Hanna's writing is just incredible. If you haven't read this, please immediately read this. Best of October. Worst of October. Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. I DNF'd it. You know, when we get it on in chapter 1, it's kind of like, where do we go from here? Like, okay, well, we've done it, so now let's do it over there. And let's do it in there. And let's do it on that. And let's do it in this position. And that's basically what this felt like. And after like chapter 5, I was done switching, doing it locations. So, worst of October. Best of November, How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. I thought this was such a fun audio. I listened to it and I read it at the same time. I immersive read. And I thought the audio was fabulous. It had a full cast in duet narration. And this book was literally like The Grinch Stole Christmas in a smutty novel. Like, it had the poems, it had the names from the Grinch. It was such a fun, like, Grinch rendition. Rated R. Loved this. Highly, highly recommend Best of November. Worst of November. Blossom in Winter by Melanie Martins. If you have TikTok, you know that this book is all over TikTok. However, if you've paid close attention, you'll notice that the videos that this book are in are sponsored or TikTok shop videos. Red flags, okay? Red flags. Now, I had never seen a review video that did not have this book linked to the TikTok shop. And I was like, you know what? I am not influenced by money. So I will be honest with my review. I would love to try this. So I did. And I am convinced that this was written by AI. If it's not, it is some of the worst writing I've ever read in my life. And I genuinely mean no hate to the author. I'm sure she worked really, really hard on this book. And I know a lot of people love this book. I read through the reviews for probably an hour. And unless they're all fake, I mean, there's a lot of good reviews. I don't understand them, but they're there. And this was, I made it to chapter 5. And I could no longer put myself through it. Worst of November. Best of December, Binding 13 and Keeping 13. In my head, these are like one book. This is very much one story. Why it's split into 2 books, I'm pretty sure is because they're both like 750 pages. So she couldn't like make a 1,500 page novel. You know, I mean, you could, I guess. But either way, this is like one story in my head. I have never laughed as hard as I laughed in this book, and then gone from cackling to absolutely sobbing. The emotions that these books were able to evoke out of me were impeccable and incredible, and I will never forget them for as long as I live. I have made multiple statements of saying that these are my new favorite books, and I do stand by that. These were incredible. They are labeled as YA or young adult, if you're not familiar. I disagree. The characters are young adults. They are under 18. However, the content of these novels is not suitable for anyone under the age of 18, and I will die on that hill. Okay? I will. I'll do it. Best of December. Worst of December is Christmas Land by Anne-Marie Meyer. I read this book because I have a Discord community and we decided that we were going to read the book and watch the movie. They made a Hallmark movie for this book. And I thought it would be fun to do like a little pair. And the book itself took about 2.5 hours to read. Wasn't long at all. It was exactly what you expect a book that's made into a Hallmark movie to be. Was it good? No. Was it bad? Also no, but it wasn't anything spectacular by any means. The movie also was exactly what you expect a Hallmark movie to be. It was very cringy. The only thing that was nice about it is that we had a watch party for it in my Discord, so we were basically just chatting with each other the whole time, talking shit about it. So that was fun, but either way, worst of December. And that's 2024, so cheers to 2025. I can't wait to see what this year will bring.